After the deadly attack, Bones asks if it was fun, believing he had eliminated him. However, the same hunter, who should be lifeless, appear ready to launch an attack. Or in this case, multiple attacks, as he quickly slashes the monster while simultaneously responding to the question. The cuts were so powerful that they even sliced through a building behind Bones. As the debris falls near the man, he says that it was a very fun. It is then that Bones reappears and comments that he is also having fun, launching a counterattack. Landing the attack on the hunter, it creates a shockwave, or so Ji-hyung thought, as Ju-gwang manages to stop the attack while asking what happened. He also mentions that he heard Ji-hyung was very strong and came from China specifically to see him. Then Ju-gwang questions if he is really human. Ji-hyung wants to know what he means by that, and Ju-gwang responds that what he feels from him is definitely the magical power of a monster. It is then that Bones quickly turns and reaches the hunter. However, the latter reacts simultaneously, launching an attack and creating distance. Even though he is a monster, he is fighting to protect someone. This raises doubts in his opponent, who wonders if Bones also has something or someone to protect, pointing to the broken building behind him. Ji-hyung, smiling, responds that yes, his mother is there, the one who abandoned him, and despite everything, he still loves her. Ju-gwang, hearing this, comments that there seems to be a story behind it and admits that he also has something similar. He remembers that he and his sister, since they were children, were nothing alike. Then he shouts to the wind that a man must always dream of being the strongest in the world, and if there is a powerful enemy, he must face it, win the fight, and proclaim himself the strongest. With that spirit, he begins to attack them. At the same time, he shouts for Bones to join the battle, launching himself into the attack. Ji-hyung responds to the call by breaking his weapon with a powerful strike, but something happens. Every time Ju-gwang launches an attack, Ji-hyung blocks it, breaking his weapon over and over. These weapons seem to have a life of their own. It is then that Bones prepares a direct attack toward Ju-gwang's spear, which curiously seemed to be crying. But it was useless, as the spear was completely destroyed. After that move, both stand still, and Ji-hyung observes what he had in his hand. Ju-gwang explains that it is a weapon created by a craftsman who used the hunter's body. This impresses Ji-hyung, who throws himself into the attack, exclaiming that this is utter madness. In one of Ju-gwang's attacks, he manages to cut off his opponent's head. However, the latter quickly zippins his body, reattaches the head in place, and at the same time launches an attack against Ju-gwang, seemingly slicing his head in half. The impact throws him against the wall behind, but at the same time he appears to regenerate. At that moment, a man appears and calls out to him. It is the S-rank blacksmith, Ge-Yao-fang. The young man addresses him and asks if he has gathered the hunter's bodies. The blacksmith replies that yes, he has collected around 40 corpses. Ju-gwang then orders him to continue working and launches into the attack again, while the blacksmith had transformed his hand into a hammer. He begins to pound something, and the impacts of the tool resound along with the agonizing screams of people crying for help and screaming in pain. After some time, the blacksmith declares that he is finished, stating that he has created a true masterpiece. He walks toward Ju-gwang and hands him a strap. The young man thanks him and, with great force, hurls the massive mace directly at Ji-hyung. This strikes him, sending him flying while he hears the screams of people who should no longer be alive. At that moment, Bones takes 2 hits from the massive mace formed by bodies and bangs them together, warning the others not to touch him. However, the hunter hurls the mace at the monster again. The latter, somewhat immobilized, realizes that all of those present are the same hunters he eliminated. He declares that he eliminated many and shouts that those who are already dead are easier to exterminate, while slicing the massive mace of bodies into multiple. After that, Ju-gwang mentions that he always tries to record everything and explains that 5 years ago in Korea, he managed to extract an eye. He also reveals that the magic of the sword he now possesses. It is then that the image of his friend begins to surface in his mind, who, by the way, was eliminated by his own hands. Then he realizes that the sword is Jin-hyung and that the eye he extracted is now in Ju-gwang's possession. Following that revelation, Ju-gwang tells the monster that he fled without even fighting, calling him a coward, just as the hunter deflects an attack. he begins to distance himself while begging to stop living, his body reducing to small pieces of flesh. Inside his mind, Ji-young was crying. At that moment, someone calls him. Looking ahead, he sees that it is his friend, which makes him scream and collapse. His friend approaches and tells him that it is okay, that they are still friends. But then the scene changes, and his friend asks, "Why did you do? I helped you. Why did you eliminate me?" he demands. Those words, along with others, resonate in Ji-young's mind, who falls to the ground while screaming. However, he remembers when his mother told him that he must always smile, which leads him to laugh. In the midst of his madness, he begins to hurt himself and tries to cut off his head. Over and over again, he repeats the action, which finally drives him to complete insanity over everything that has happened. Ju-guang, watching this, smiles. Jin-hyung also smiles as he continues to injure himself and laugh until he finally asks if anyone wants to eliminate him, revealing that behind him are multiple. Meanwhile, in China, Ju-wei wonders if her brother is having fun fighting. However, someone interrupts her. Annoyed, the woman asks what he wants. A knight informs her that the hunters in the northeast are being massacred, which leaves the girl shocked. Immediately after, she asks what is happening, and it is revealed that Tae-soo and the girl accompanying him are eliminating living armors as they advance toward the main castle.
And with that, we've reached the end of this week's chapter. If you made it all the way to the end, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this chapter in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe so our community can keep growing and we can reach more fans like you. See you in the next video. In the meantime, if you're from the near future, I'll leave you the next chapter and a comic you're sure to enjoy. Thank you for being part of this adventure.